Hello friends and welcome back. So from WebLogic 14.12 onwards, we know that the traditional admin console has been replaced with the remote console, which is a separate open source utility from the Oracle. Okay, so now there are a lot of confusions about the remote console. Okay, because there are multiple ways to configure that, multiple ways to use that. There are different ways of configurations. Okay, so a lot of engineers are still confused. What is remote console? How it works? Okay, so in this session, I'm going to cover the introduction to remote console and then different ways. I will show you the different ways how you can configure, how to use that, and why we have a different ways. What is the reason for that? We have a different ways of remote console, like the client and then hosted, and what is the reason for that, how we can do that, okay, how we can use that. But one thing is very clear: if you are working as a WebLogic admin, okay, and you are working till 12.2.14 or 14.1.1 version, okay, and 14.1.2 and the latest 15.1.1 is new to you, then definitely you have to learn the remote console, because there are a lot of things that has been changed now in the remote console. The way we configure the different resources, that we have a different kind of options, a different kind of a configuration parameters, monitoring parameters that we have in the traditional admin console, that is going to be changed completely. Okay, there are a lot of enhancement in the 14.1.2 onwards, okay, in terms of JDK and then upgrade and then a lot of other. Okay, so you have to understand multiple things, so you can say that the work is going to be increased for you, because now you have to learn the remote console as well. Okay, and this remote console is not new. Okay, this was introduced a couple of years back and it is supported from the 12.2.14 onwards. That means if you are running the 12.2.14 version of WebLogic, you can still use the WebLogic remote console. Okay, but from 14.1.2 onwards, it is now forcefully replacing the traditional admin console. Okay, that means you do not have option to use the traditional console from 14.1.2 onwards. Okay, so I'm going to use this about digitalk lab guide. Okay, so how to configure and then all the explanation of this remote tool. Okay, but I'm going to cover the important concept which is very critical for you to understand. Okay, if you still do not have a very clarity on that. Okay, so the very first thing, as I said, the 14.1.2 onwards, this remote console is the primary admin interface for your WebLogic server. Okay, the traditional admin console is completely depreciated. Okay, that means you have to learn the remote console. There's a documentation for that, and if you have a good experience on the admin console, then definitely a lot of options you can learn by own. You can explore the remote console tool. You can go to the different navigations, and definitely you are going to understand it by your own as well. Okay, but definitely on top of that, you need to learn multiple things. Okay, so now we have a two different ways of deployment when we set other remote console tool. The very first thing, desktop client version. Okay, that means you have to download a open source client version in your local system. Just like we install the Windows different softwares. Okay, you download the remote console desktop client. You can install it in a local system. Okay, so to download that is very simple, straightforward. You can go to your browser and you can run the download WebLogic remote console tool. Okay, and you will see a lot of blogs of the Oracle as well, and then location as well from where you can download. So this is the official GitHub repository of Oracle. Okay, you can click on this WebLogic remote console. Okay, and here you can click on the download, and you will be on the console repository. So here you will have a different locations from where you can read the documentation, from where you can download the different releases. So as of today, the latest version is 3.0. Okay, and which is released just 3 weeks ago in August 2026. Okay, and on top of that, whatever I have told to you, that you have to learn multiple things, you have to keep learning about the remote console, because you can see there are a lot of frequent updates from the Oracle on this particular remote console tool. So if it is going to be changed the version, then definitely a lot of changes are going to be enhanced in the remote console. For example, if you are on 2.14 or maybe 3 or 3.02 or 3.3, the way of configuring the resources deployment, and then after that how you save the changes, how you commit the changes in the domain, so that option is completely changed now in from 3.0.4 or 5 onwards. Okay, so that means you have to keep learning the different the enhancement that is going to be in the each and every release of the remote console. This is the very first thing, right? So now, as I said, the very first thing is remote console client. So you have to download this client version. From here you can come to here for the latest version of 3.0. You can click on show all assets. So here you can see multiple installers based on your operating system. If you're in a Windows, like you want to access from the Windows, or you want to access from the some different operating systems, okay, you can download the corresponding installer. So this is the installer for the Windows. Okay, you have to download this particular installer. You need to install it. It is just double click and next, and simple you will install. Okay, so this is the first option. So that means your WebLogic is running on some remote server. Remote server in the sense, for example, in a professional environment. Okay, we may have the WebLogic running on the Linux servers for in the client environments, or maybe in some other servers in your data center, your own data center, in the cloud data center, anywhere. Okay, now you want to access the admin console from your local system. So you need to download this remote console tool in your local system, and then you need to register your WebLogic console URL and username and password with this particular client tool. Okay, to access the admin console. This is the very first thing. Apart from that, we have the other option which is called the hosted WebLogic remote console. Now, what is hosted WebLogic remote console? So here, if you know that, as I said, that the remote console, we have a software which you need to download and install in your local system. Okay, but there are a lot of organizations. We have some strict policies. They do not allow the engineers to have admin access. They can't install the softwares in their local system, and it's not possible. Like every time you are going to install the remote console, you are going to upgrade the remote console. You are going to your IT team, support team, and then you are asking them to install the remote console for you, update it for you. Right? That's not feasible, right? So that means still you have some restrictions, maybe in some organizations. So you need some alternate of that, right? So the alternate is the hosted WebLogic remote console. So hosted WebLogic remote console is exactly same as the remote console in terms of the functionalities, look and feel, theme, everything. Okay. The only difference, you don't need to install any of the client tool. It is deployed automatically, not automatically, you have to do certain tasks for that, but it is deployed on your admin server, just like your traditional admin console. And then you can access it with the help of browser, right? So we access the admin console currently with the help of admin IP and port and then console, right? So if I go to browser, let me go to browser. For example, if I say you have to access the traditional admin console, so you may have to give the your IP address, then admin server port by default is 7001, and then you will give the slash consoles, right? Or maybe you have a DNS in front of your admin console, so you can provide the DNS. But this is the traditional way how we access the admin console, right? But if you are going to use the hosted traditional remote console, okay, you are going to deploy it. Okay, so the difference is, but you have to give the R console like this one. Okay, so why we give the 7001 port? Because the admin console is by default deploy on your admin server. Okay, so now once you deploy the hosted remote console tool, so we access it with the help of slash R console. So what we are doing, we are accessing from the browser, right? We are not accessing it from our local system by downloading the client tool, right? So by this way, when we deploy the client tool, so you will have this client tool, WebLogic remote console. So this tool is deployed in my local system. I have installed in my local system. And if I'm going to access my any of the admin console, which is running on any of the Linux server in any of the data center, either the local data center or your cloud data center, so you have to create a connection for that one. Create an admin server connection provider. So here you need to provide the details. Okay, so once you will provide the detail, it will be added here, and then you can connect to that particular server. So this is, but this tool is installed in my local system, this one, right? So now, as I said, if you do not have access to install this client tool, then you need to go for the hosted WebLogic remote console. So we have a certain way for that, for doing this one. It's a very straightforward process. The script is provided by the Oracle itself. You just need to run a script. It will automatically deploy this remote console on your WebLogic console admin server, which you can access from the browser. So these are the two important methods for accessing the remote console. Now hope it is clear to you, right? But are two different ways. Now if I go forward, so here I have explained all these details, how to download, where to download, and then installation, creation of the connections, accessing, and then some introduction to the remote console, because we have now some different tree, edit tree, configuration monitoring tree, security data tree, and there is a specific purpose for that. And that's why I was telling you, if you do not have access or knowledge of remote console and you are a WebLogic admin, your organization is going to upgrade to the latest version, then definitely you need to learn the remote console properly. Okay, otherwise you will be struggling even for configuration of the JMS, configuration of the data sources, deployment of applications, updating a specific parameter. For everything you are going to struggle if you will not going to learn this remote console. Okay, so now as I said, if you are going for a hosted remote console. So for that, as I said, there is a script that has been provided by the Oracle itself. Okay, and this is the script, remote console deployment.py. Okay, the location is Oracle home WL server bin. Inside that you have this particular Python script. Okay, this Python script you need to run for the deployment of the remote or console, hosted console. Okay, so you, for that you need to create a password file, and then you can run this particular command, and this will automatically deploy the remote hosted console in your admin server. So once this is done, after that you can access with the help of your browser like this one. So you have to give the R console, and then you will access from the browser. But as I said, the look and feel completely same. If you see here, the look and feel, once you log in with the help of username and password, okay, look and feel exactly same, whatever you will see in the tool. Okay, so this is the tool that has been installed in my local system. Okay, so once you registered here with any particular running domain, okay, so everything will be same, whatever you are seeing here in the client tool, whatever you are seeing here in the client tool, exactly you will see here in the browser as well. The only difference is that you are accessing it from the browser. Otherwise, every option, every tree configuration will be same. There is no difference in them. Okay, now one more important thing. If I show you here, if you see here the latest version or the version that is there in my system as of now, remote console 3.0.4, which I have downloaded, right? So I have the liberty, I can go to this particular URL, okay, to use the latest remote console. I can download in my local system from here, and I will be on the latest remote console tool, right? But if you are going to use the hosted remote console, that means hosted in the sense which you are going to access from the console. So for that, what I said, there is a default script which will automatically deploy the hosted remote console. So when it is going to deploy the hosted remote console, that means that particular var file, R console var file, is shipped with your WebLogic. Whenever you download and install the WebLogic, it will automatically have a particular var file for the remote console, right? And they may be outdated or it may be old, right? Because today there is an installer of 14.12 release which is having a particular remote console var file. But now after that, there are a lot of enhancement keep going on, right, on the remote console. So in that case, you have to update this particular R console file, because the default file which has been deployed, it is the old one in the remote console tool, right? So for that, the very first thing, you can do it manually as well, but manually is not required. Okay, so how this particular going to update, which is shipped with your WebLogic server installer. Okay, so for that you have to apply the latest patches. Okay, so that means we know that we have a stack patch bundle. So every quarter your Oracle release a stack patch bundle for the different middleware products, including the WebLogic. So to be on top of the latest remote console extension or the latest your hosted remote console, okay, you have to apply the latest patch set. So once you will apply the latest patch set, so after that, whatever the remote console that you have deployed in your environment, okay, it will be automatically upgraded. Otherwise, what will happen when you are going for the remote console tool in your local system, where you have specifically downloaded the remote console tool, you will have a latest version. But if you are going to access with the help of browser like this one, so here you may see the different version. You can see here 2.4.18. This is the old one, right? Because this version may be shipped with the WebLogic server, and we have not applied the latest stack patch bundle or the latest patch. So if you are not going to apply the latest stack patch bundle, so the default R console will be different. So if you have some users using the remote console, so they will have the latest version and they will see the different options. And if someone is using the R console with the help of browser, which may have a different version, they may not able to see the latest options that the users seeing who is accessing with the help of client remote console. So if you are going to use the hosted remote console, you have to make sure you are on the latest patch set update, so that you will have a latest version of the R console. Otherwise, you have to update it manually as well. You need to manually download this var file This is the you will have a var file here for the console. Okay, and that var file you need to download manually, and then you need to update, which is not recommended. The always now the recommendation is you should be on the latest patch set update. Okay, so that your R console will also be on the latest patches or the with the latest features. So this you have to make sure, right? So now hope it is clear to you the concept of remote console, why it is important, what you have to learn for the remote console, what are the different ways, okay, for installing and using the remote console, what is the purpose of each, how we can do that, and what exactly we need to take care in terms of the patching and why.